Christian Watson, the expert consensus on Fantasy Pros had him at wide receiver 29. I bumped him up to 28 because I was like, he's probably gonna get some target. You can't ignore a 40% target share, in week 10. Just can't ignore it. But at the same time, 3 touchdowns that felt Gabriel Davis-y. So I didn't want to go too hog wild on him. I know that some fantasy managers had him at 15, 16. I just couldn't do it. But I'm happier that, he ended up getting those 2 touchdowns, even though he only caught a couple passes in this game.
Yeah, I tweeted out, I think I tweeted out on Tuesday that if you're not playing Christian Watson this week after what happened before, then you're the kind of person that gets up from the blackjack table if you win 3 hands. And a couple people said, we don't chase points. We definitely do not chase points, but we do chase usage from, players with elite prospect profiles.
Right.
And Watson, he was a smaller school guy, an FCS guy, but he was the 34th overall pick. He's a 4.3 guy. The Packers took him extremely high, and he was coming off a 3 touchdown game. And the thing that impressed me the most about that was it was not only the 40% target share, which is nuts, but he had a potential of 4th touchdown where he kind of lost track of the ball. And it was a close game. It wasn't like they were chasing. And it wasn't like this all happened in a half. It was the game plan. They kept going to Christian Watson against a defense that we respect in Dallas. And I think it's kind of a litmus test. This time of year, you mentioned how important these games are for us to win and our approach to the game, how it feels like the games have more weight. To me, I like to lean towards the ceiling plays over the floor plays. And I think when you go, it's just a more optimistic way of playing this game. You never feel great when you start a guy and you say, well, I'm really hoping I get those 10 points. You can hit your number and still lose the week. If I'm going to go down, I want to go down swinging, and I want to play guys with high ceilings when I'm breaking ties. And I think that Watson really showed you that it's a heater. It's, guys do go on heaters in this game, and we've seen it time and time again with younger wide receivers where these guys get hot in the second half of the year and they go on their tears. I mean, you think about DK Metcalf, you think about A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, these sort of guys, Chase Claypool, when it's usually happening in the second half of the year. And I think we're starting to see that with Watson. And I believe in him moving forward. I think that the thing that also impressed me was the first touchdown was, you can say it was, a little bit of a force ball. It was, basically to end the quarter.
Right.
But when he caught the second ball, the play before it, they get inside the 10 and they run smoke for him. He bobbles the ball, doesn't have his feet set, and immediately they go right back to him. To me, that's Aaron Rodgers attacking in the, you're Bradley, you're a Packers guy. You've seen it time and time again with Devontae Adams. Rodgers loves passing to his wide receivers in the red zone, and I think he's got a potential red zone beast right now.
The hyper targets are there. I mean, we see the Tunyon jersey behind me. I don't know. There's a little bit of a glare, but
David Bakhtiari, which is very impressive that you own that, and also an Alan Lazard jersey, the alternate Lazard. So that's very impressive.
Yes, but actually, Bakhtiari was once asked, how far do you think Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball? And he answered, between 68 and 70 yards.
There you go.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's the hyper targeting. It's the breakouts in the second half. It's that, especially in the first half, there was a lot of love for Romeo Doubs. And I think deservedly so. Like, Rodgers gave him a chance. And then Doubs gets hurt. And now Watson is running 85 to 90% of the routes. He's getting all the snaps. He's getting the targets, and it's now clicking for him. Thankfully, Doubs is out for that cleared opportunity, is going to continue that way. But I think this is a one of those rare cases where a player loses his job because of injury, and Watson now is blossoming because now he doesn't have to fight with someone who maybe the coaching staff really respected and was putting out there. And maybe that's why there was that tension earlier in the season. But the Packers need to figure out a way to win when Rodgers is just not delivering the ball right, because he missed some of his passes this past game against Tennessee, and even one with Watson down the field that you felt that they should have had. And so
Yeah,
as a
it's
Packers fan,
frustrating.
I'm worried a little bit.
Yeah, it's a frustrating time for Packers fans in terms of the wins lost, but they still seem quite competitive, and I think that they're
Yep.
this Rodgers to Watson connection. Obviously we can't expect him to have 2 touchdowns every game, but I feel like the targets will be there moving forward, and it's a really reassuring thing. If you've been sitting on Watson, it's at the very least you have a very nice flex or wide receiver 3 moving forward, and I think he's got wide receiver 2 potential down the stretch.
And we've seen wide receiver 1 weeks.
Yeah.
You mentioned week winning weeks, and I felt like as a fantasy manager, I needed to see it first for Christian Watson, because for a while there, he was giving me Denzel Mims vibes of like a really athletic second round
Ooh,
player,
ooh,
right?
that's tough.
Right? He was giving me second round Denzel Mims vibes. Like he's getting dogged by the coaching staff, not getting the snaps, and running some bad routes, and had the bad drop week 1, and
Yep.
then now chance for redemption. So we've got a question about Watson when Dubs returns. What do you think will happen? And
I don't think anything's going to happen. I think Dubs is going to be a lower A dot type option. I think you'll see Dubs underneath. Dubs has shown he can do that, and I think that's a role that'll kind of fit for him. I mean, some of the targets you saw for Randall Cobb, I think could go to Dubs, but I think the high value targets are going to go to Watson and Lazard.
yeah,
And I think this also dings Tunyon a bit, because I think that having the actually dings Tunyon a considerable amount, because I think that Aaron Jones is going to get his touches, and I think it's going to be Lazard, and I think it's going to be Watson, and that's kind of the pecking order is Jones and then those 2 wide receivers. I don't think Dubs is going to be a guy you can put into your fantasy lineups. I think if you're a dynasty player, he's still very interesting. But again, you're talking about a later round pick. Watson was a day 2 guy, an early day 2 guy. The Packers certainly have a lot more invested in him than they do Dubs. And, you're talking about a next level athlete with size in Watson. They're just different players.
for sure.